Well, good morning and welcome to our continued journey through Psalm 25. A chance, I pray, to just take a couple of verses and to pause, be still before the Lord, and meditate on perhaps just one or two truths that we might take with us into the day ahead. And today we've got to verses 14 and 15 of Psalm 25. I'll read just a little chunk it's part of. I'll read from verse 11 to 15. For your name's sake, O Lord, pardon my guilt, for it is great. Who is the man who fears the Lord? Him will he instruct in the way that he should choose. His soul shall abide in well-being, and his offspring shall inherit the land. The friendship of the Lord is for those who fear him, and he makes known to them his covenant. My eyes are ever toward the Lord, for he will pluck my feet out of the net. Well, two delightful images to meditate on from these verses, I think, speaking sort of the two sides of David's relationship with God. And first, from the Lord's side, the Lord's friendship is with those who fear him. I think NIV has the Lord confides in, which is the same idea in terms of being brought in, being brought close and into the inner circle. But I think the friendship image is a powerful one, so we'll stick with that. The friendship of the Lord is for those who fear him, and he makes known to them his covenant. We've seen before in this and other Psalms that forgiveness, though an extraordinary blessing of being a believer, isn't the ultimate blessing or the end goal. There's a danger, we think, that forgiveness is something that God dispenses from on high, or that justification is a system he sets in motion, but he stays a little bit removed from the whole process. And so when it comes to how God feels about us, maybe we have a view of him as cold, stern, distant, even disappointed or angry. Perhaps particularly when it comes to thinking of God the Father, I wonder if that might be some picture we have of this somewhat stern, somewhat disapproving God. And of course we'd find it hard to love a God like that. Of course we'd find it hard to pray, to lift up our soul in the way that David does here. But here God speaks of David as his friend. Forgiveness is not the ultimate goal, though a glorious blessing. Forgiveness is for the sake of friendship. I wonder if you've ever had that experience where you're getting to know someone, and perhaps it comes to the point where you're starting to call them your friend, but you just wonder if it is reciprocated. Maybe I've met someone and a few times, getting to know them, and I wonder if someone to ask them, "Oh, Matt Searles, do you know Matt Searles?" And maybe they'll say, "Oh yeah, Matt Searles. Yeah, he's a guy I met at a couple of conferences. Yeah, I've met him before." Or will they say, "Oh yeah, Matt Searles. Yeah, he's my friend." Well, I wonder how God would answer that question about you. He's my friend. She's my friend. This is one of those truths in the Bible I just don't think we wouldn't dare make up a truth that the God of the universe would call us, his people, friends. But this is what God's covenant has always been about. I will be your God and you will be my people. It's as if God opens up his plans for history. He lays the blueprints on the table for all he plans to do, his secret counsel, and he calls us over and says, I will show you what my plans are for eternity. And we see the plans of God for eternity are to glorify his Son, of course, and he does that through doing good to his people. God says, let me show you my plans. They're to shower affection on you for eternity. How does God view you right now? He sees you as his friend, someone he's brought close. We could stop there, couldn't we? Spend all day meditating on those truths. But look at how David responds, and I think it's the only natural response. If he's grasped the truths of verse 14, verse 15 flows naturally. My eyes are ever toward the Lord. From God's side, God calls David a friend. From David's side, David says, my eyes are on him continually. It's the friendship of the Lord that leads David to run to him in every situation. It's the kindness of God that leads David to lift up his soul, his very life, and place it in God's hands. It's looking to God, his eyes ever to the Lord. It's trust, it's devotion, it's love, it's dependence. All because he knows who God is. Perhaps it brings to mind that verse in Psalm 27, David's one thing, his one desire is to gaze on the Lord's beauty. He just wants to look, to contemplate, to spend time with this God who calls him friend. As Spurgeon put it, happy are those whose eyes are never removed from their God. And did you notice the last sentence of our little section? For he will pluck my feet out of the net. David's feet are still in the net. It might refer to the enemies around him who are trying to trap him. It might refer to temptation and sin. David's been free in this psalm about admitting his sin and his need for forgiveness. And this net might be external enemies. It might be his internal temptation. There are still struggles for David. But whilst David's feet may be in the net, his heart is in heaven. His eyes are on the Lord. And so he's confident of rescue from the enemies who surround him. His eyes are on the Lord, and that's what helps him defeat the temptations that are so powerfully besetting him. David's eyes are on the Lord, which means, as Derek Kidner put it, the enemy has failed to dictate to David the terms of battle. I love that. It's not saying there's no battle, but the enemy has not dictated the terms because David's eyes are on the Lord. David's eyes are ever towards the God who calls him friend. And that is the safest place for him and for us to be. Let's close in prayer, shall we? No longer do I call you servants, for the servant does not know his master's business, but I have called you friends. Lord Jesus, we give you praise and glory that you have brought us close, that you'd not see it as enough to forgive us, but more than that, to bring us to be with you, to be close to you. Thank you for your friendship. And may our eyes indeed be ever on you, Lord. Looking to you, knowing that you are the source of our every blessing. Knowing that with our eyes on you, our feet will not slip. Lord Jesus, we give you glory and praise. Amen. Well, it's been lovely to hear that people are joining in, that people are engaging with the just wonderful truths in these psalms. If we take a slow look at them, well, 2 more days in Psalm 25. On Monday, we will begin a journey through Matthew's Gospel, longer sections, about a half a chapter at a time. But again, probably just pulling out one or two things for us to meditate on. Yeah, do join in with that. And if the folks that might benefit from that, particularly maybe people looking into the Christian faith, they'll be aimed at Christian believers primarily. But as we will basically seek to see Christ in Matthew's Gospel each morning, there would be a great place for someone to start their investigations of the Christian faith. So that might be somewhere to point them if that's useful. I wish you every blessing for the day ahead.